This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, so Frank Warren has stated that a Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight this year, very, very unlikely. But he has offered alternatives in Daniel Dubois and Joyce. Now, as far as Tyson Fury fight is concerned with Anthony Joshua, Fury looks like he's going to be fighting Alexander Usyk next for Undisputed. That's great. And they're probably going to have a rematch. Okay, so that will probably keep Tyson out for the entire year anyway. So, fair play, right? Now, as far as Daniel Dubois and Joyce is concerned for Anthony Joshua, I'd like to see Anthony Joshua fight either. I really would. I'll be very interested in Joshua fighting either one of them two. Now, I think for most people, they'll probably say Joyce would be the harder fight for Anthony Joshua out of the two, because obviously Joyce already defeated Daniel Dubois. Okay, but at the same time, both of them possess danger for Anthony Joshua. Not necessarily for Anthony Joshua, but for anyone. Okay, because they're both very, very good, come forward, heavy-handed guys. On the back foot, Daniel Dubois seems a little bit more vulnerable than Joyce. Joyce can soak up the shots. It appears that Daniel Dubois, we're not too sure about that. Obviously, listen, the eye injury is the eye injury. Of course, I defended him over that, and he was right to save his career. But against Kevin Lorena, it looked like it was a shot to the head that put Daniel Dubois down. And that's from Kevin Lorena, pretty much a career cruiserweight. Now, of course, cruiserweights, they carry speed and that anyway. But the fact that he took a knee 2 more times in that first fight, in that first round against Kevin Lorena, he got out of jail free on that one. Any referee on any given time could have just stopped that fight. Okay, so he's very, very lucky that the referee didn't. And was it a case of that his equilibrium was out, or was it a case of his knee? There seemed to have been a little bit of hit and miss in the camp as to what exactly it was. But it does appear that Daniel Dubois may be a little bit vulnerable when he gets hit. But there's no shame in that. It's a heavyweight division, of course. They're all big men, 18 stone plus. They're going to hurt. Okay. Now, as far as the Joyce fight is concerned, that's a tougher fight, of course. I would certainly say so. Again, Joshua, he knows Joyce. Joyce knows Anthony Joshua. They've known each other since the amateur days. They've sparred together, all that kind of good stuff. And you can't put any kind of stock into what happened in, say, for example, in the amateur fights where Joshua stopped Joyce in the first round. That doesn't mean that that's what would happen in the professional ring. But there again, Anthony Joshua, if he gets back to his old self and starts throwing bombs again, could Joyce take it? There's only so much anybody can take. I don't care how good your chin is or whatever. There's only so much you can take. All right? But that would be a very, very interesting fight. And Joyce versus Anthony Joshua could well be a pick-em fight. Joyce versus Daniel Dubois could well be a pick-em fight. I don't see either fights going the distance, in my honest opinion. Somebody will get stopped in either of those fights. Now, Joyce is probably the better boxer than Daniel Dubois, meaning that he could just be a pure boxer. He didn't have to just be the aggressor. We've seen that with Joyce, the way that he was just outboxing Daniel Dubois. But Daniel Dubois, listen, is actually a very good boxer. We've seen that when he fought Nathan Gorman, who is pretty much a pure boxer, right? So I'd like to see either fight. Is it possible? Could Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren sit down together and thrash out some kind of deal? Very unlikely, to be honest. I mean, it seems that the fighters don't have too much of a say, that it seems that the promoters will pretty much stop any kind of fights from happening, sometimes unintentionally, because they can't agree on terms. Obviously, Frank Warren, he's going to insist that either Daniel Dubois and Joyce will be the A-side when it comes to Anthony Joshua. Even though Joshua would, of course, generate more viewers, i.e. more money, and that, for example. But that's how Frank Warren's going to be, and maybe rightfully so. At the end of the day, he works for Daniel Dubois, he works for Joyce, not Anthony Joshua. So it's his job to try and get the best deal for his clients, right? Likewise, Eddie Hearn will say, well, it doesn't matter if Anthony Joshua doesn't have a belt or whatever. He's still the biggest draw in the heavyweight division. He should be the A-side. So A-side, B-side, the kind of things that we don't want to hear about is what makes and breaks fights, isn't it? Anyway, I'd like to see it. And it's an opportunity for Anthony Joshua to get straight back into the mix should he beat either one of them. Dan Dubois will be the quicker route back into world title contention, because obviously he's got a WBA regular title, and he's up next for the winner of Fury and Usyk. Maybe that belt could be vacated, because obviously they're going to have a rematch, in which case if Anthony Joshua fights Dan Dubois, if he defeats Dan Dubois, he could get elevated back to WBA World Heavyweight Champion straight away. So there's that alternative, or he could play the longer game, go for, say, Joe Joyce. If he beats Joe Joyce, he's WBO interim champion, WBO mandatory. Maybe that belt becomes vacant after the first undisputed fight. Maybe. So anyway, interesting options. Let's see if they can do something. I wouldn't hold my breath on it though. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.